Alright, so this is going to be about absolute value. This is going to be a two-parter. First part is going to be how to solve the equations. The second part is going to be how to graph them. Let me first explain what absolute value means. Absolute value means it's asking you how far is this number away from 0. This number will always be positive. That's what absolute value does, is it always makes the number positive. For example, if you had a -3 on the number line, -1, -2, -3. What it's asking for, how far is this -3 in terms of the 0? So if we would count units, 1, 2, 3. So obviously it's going to be 3 away. What about 5? Same concept. If I have a number line, when we count backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's still 5 units away. Okay, so it stays positive. If it's negative, it turns positive. If it's positive, it stays positive. So -2, we can just say is 2. So that's all an absolute value is it's a way of saying whatever answer comes out of this thing, it needs to turn positive. So, absolute value, for the most part, has two answers. Sometimes it has no answers, and on very rare occasions, it has one answer. But in this case, we're looking for absolute value has two answers. For example, if you have this absolute value of x, well, there's two numbers that are exactly 2 away from 0. You have -2 and you have +2. Both of these numbers are exactly 2 away from 0. So when we say what two numbers could x be in order for the absolute value of them to be 2, we'd say -2, +2. Same thing with p. -5, +5 are exactly 5 units away from it. But then you're going to get to problems like this, where you have a negative sign. Absolute value, whatever comes out of this, has to be positive, so therefore it cannot equal a negative number. So, this is no solution. This is where you have 0 solutions, one of the rare instances. Now, when it comes to equations, what we're actually trying to do is figure out what x is. Now remember, there's going to be two answers to this, and this is how you solve problems like this. Your step 1. Okay, your step 1 is to get I'm going to abbreviate absolute value by ABS, signs by themselves. What I mean by that is that there's two halves of the equal sign. You have the right and you have the left half. The half that it's on, there can be no numbers outside of it. That means that this +6, and if there was a number in front of it, those cannot be there. We need to get those by themselves. That's what step 1 is trying to tell us. So, we're going to get rid of the 6. How do we do that? Well, we subtract 6. Both sides. Now we have the absolute value of 3x minus 7 equals 14. Oh, not 14, I'm sorry, 8. Okay? Now, step 2 is to check. Check if positive. You're going to check if it's positive. We need this answer to be positive, just like we said on the previous problem. We cannot have negative answers. So we're going to check, is this 8 positive? Well, yes, it's a positive 8. So we can move on to step 3. Make two answers and solve. Just like before, we're going to have two answers, and we're always going to be looking at this. Alright? We're saying whatever comes out of this needs to equal 8. So there's two numbers that can do that. If we set 3x minus 7 equal to -8, or we set 3x minus 7 equal to +8. Both -8 and +8, when we take the absolute value of it, will turn out to be actually the correct solution. So in this case, we're going to get rid of this -7 first. Okay, so I'm going to do this on both equations at the same time. The reason is because you're going to do it later, and we might as well do it all at once. So we're solving these just like normal. We add 7, we get 3x equals -1, and we get 3x equals 15. Our next step, guys, is to get the x by itself. So how do we do that? Well, this is multiplying, so the opposite of multiplication is division. We end up with x, so x equals -1/3, x equals 5. Okay? So now these two answers, if I took them and plugged them back into this, would come out to be 14 afterwards. So that's how that works. And the next one, same idea, except for you have a 4 right here. We're going to pretend like these are jail cells. You can't like get in them, you can't get out of them. That means nothing gets in, nothing gets out. That means this 4 cannot distribute to these two numbers. So that your first instinct would be to distribute, it's not to do that. So what we're going to actually do instead is we're going to get rid of the 4. Since distribute means multiplication, we're going to do the opposite of multiplication. And also you're going to pretend like this is a 16 because I messed up on the notes. So you're going to divide by 4 on both sides. So you're going to get absolute value of 2x plus 4 equals 4. Well, now we have the absolute value sign by itself. We can see that this is a positive number. So now we gotta get our two answers. So we got 2x plus 4 equals -4. 2x plus 4 equals +4. From there we just solve. We subtract 4 from both sides. I'm going to do this on both of them since it's the same operation. So we get 2x equals -8 and 2x equals 0. Our final step is to divide. So x will give you -4 and x will give you 0. Now, this next one's going to be a little bit more tricky. Step 1, get rid of the 9. Subtract 9. We got absolute value of 9x plus 17 equals -4. Go to step 2. Check if positive. Is this positive? No. So then they have no answer. So there's no solution. And that's how you get no solution answers. Now when you get to a problem like this, okay, you're wondering what should I do first? Should I divide by 3 or add 3 first? Well, we are going to do PEMDAS backwards. We're going to pretend like these are the parentheses. So first adding and subtracting, you get rid of that first. So you get rid of the 3 first, then you would divide, and then you go on with the process. And that's how you would solve something with both of those on there. So let me do it quickly for you. So plus 3 on both sides. So we're left with 3 times the absolute value of 5x plus 6 equals 15. Next, get rid of the 3. Now you have 5x plus 6 equals 5. From there, all you'd have to do is you would have to make 2 answers, 5x plus 6, 5x plus 6 set it equal to 5 and -5. And you would just solve. That is how the regular problems are done. The next video will show you how to graph them.